Aloha, welcome to Jordan's Journal. I'm Representative Joe Jordan, and we have another show for you today. My guests today, I have Susan Murray.
Hi.
Hi, and Dr. Gerard Akaka.
Aloha.
Thank you. Could you kind of give a little bit about your background and where we're from?
Sure. Well, I grew up in Hawaii, so I've lived here most of my life, went to the mainland for some experience. I've actually worked at Straub, Kapiolani, and Kaiser prior to coming to Queens, and I've been at Queens now for 2 months.
Wow. And what do you do for Queens?
So for Queens, I was hired to be the Senior Vice President of Queens Health System West Oahu, and I'm going to be the Chief Operating Officer once that campus comes back to life for that hospital.
Oh, okay. Dr. Akaka?
And so my position is the Vice President, Medical Affairs, and Chief Medical Officer for Queens. I also have another hat, though. It's Medical Director for the Native Hawaiian Health Program for the Queens Health System.
Wow.
And my background, I'm born and raised here as well. I went to medical school here, residency here in internal medicine. And after doing some years in the Air Force, I came back to serve at the Waianae Coast Comprehensive Health Center and was there for a few years. A wonderful time at a great place.
Yes, yes, I remember you from then, yes. That, our health center is awesome. It really is. We just had our 40th anniversary. So
Yes.
what you guys are going to be talking about today really helps our, whole West Coast, from Eva all the way to
needed, and also that were done at that hospital when it was HMC in St. Francis West. So we know general surgery, orthopedics, gastroenterology, those sorts of services, and of course to support a very big emergency department. It will almost triple in size.
Wow.
From when it was before.
Oh, that's gonna be a huge relief. That's gonna be a huge relief. So I know for the communities on the west side of Oahu, sometimes it's the travel. So hearing what you're saying is, so this could cut down on people having to do those extra, like screenings or doctor's visits for specialists of driving into Honolulu. So it might be easier to bring that and stay within the region in the Ewa area.
That's the hope, that for routine things, no need to drive to town. For the highly specialized procedures and surgeries that aren't offered in the West community, that's okay, that's a one-time trip. So we won't have a cath lab, we won't be doing open heart surgery, that'll be done at our main campus, but we will be supportive of those services.
Wow. So then the emergency room is what I'd really like to talk about, because when we lost St. Francis West, I mean, it put a burden on the rest of the hospital system. And then it put a burden on the emergency transportation system to get people to and from, and then having to shuffle patients. So hearing that the emergency services are going to be provided on that west side is going to be very beneficial to the community, especially if you're going to expand it out. That's going to be much more helpful.
So when it closed, it had 10 emergency rooms in the emergency department. When we reopen, we'll have 23 places for people to be. So we'll have a split flow. So if you come in and you're more on the urgent side, not emergent, we'll have a way to triage you very quickly, and then the more acute patients that really need immediate response will be taken back.
Oh, that's good. Are we also planning like maybe some beds? So if people have to be admitted, are we going to be looking at that also?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we're going to have 4 operating rooms, 2 procedure rooms.
Wow.
We'll have 31 med surge beds, 41 tele beds, and a 10-bed ICU.
Wow.
So we'll be able to take care of a lot. It's a secondary, strong, high-quality community hospital is what we're aiming for.
Oh, that's like music to my ears. It is. And 1 year out, if you're talking about March of next year, 2014, I mean that's just a hop, skip, and away. So, this is kind of quick when you're trying to get a hospital back up and running, right?
It really is. It's over 128,000 square feet of renovation.
Wow.
And some of it is refinishing, like on the patient floors, but as an example, we have to enlarge an elevator shaft and bring in a whole new elevator cab, because with the advent of new technology over the last 20 years, to get a gurney and a ventilator and all the other equipment from the emergency department to the OR, as an example, wouldn't fit in the current elevator design. So a lot of infrastructure needs to be.
And I think that's where the general public doesn't quite understand. I didn't realize, I guess that hospital probably has been there about 20 years or a little bit longer.
It looks so modern, but yes.
Yeah, so I guess when you're really talking about, the changes in technology, that you'd have to upgrade a facility to fit the current, equipment you have. Wow, okay, so it's not like just say, hey, start opening back up and let's start rolling. There's a lot of more detail and a lot more commitment by, the institution of Queens, right?
And a lot of people have asked, why don't you open the emergency department first and get that up and running, because we need it. But when you think about it, a well-run emergency department relies on surrounding services. So high-end diagnostic imaging, immediate access to an operating room if that's what the patient requires. So we really felt ultimately it's in the best interest of the community to wait and come up all at once.
Oh, okay. No, I'm starting to get this. So and you just can't open up the door. You have to say, okay, we need to have X-ray services. We need to have scanning services. We need to put them in an urgent care bed. We need to have all that surrounding stuff ready to do that, or else opening the doors is not going to work. You'll probably fail at it, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Is there any plans? I know this is this is just a small piece, but there's any plans to kind of expand the campus maybe in the next 20, 30 years? Because I think you're going to be around for another 100 years out there.
We definitely are, not myself personally, but yes, Queens is here for the long haul. This is our 154th year of Queens Hospital, so the longevity is with us out into the future. And I think it's something that we've made a real commitment now and in the future. The 5th floor has some open space that was built to accommodate more inpatient beds should we need them. We have one physician office building on campus, but we have 17 acres, so there'll be room for another physician office building as the need arises, and whatever complementary services that fast-growing community is going to need. And I want to say the other part is in the lobby, which is going to be expanded and enlarged. It's very important that we honor the legacy of the past. So not only are we going to have our king and queen represented there, but also St. Mary Ann and the legacy of the sisters who foresightedness and innovative spirit made that campus to begin with. So we think it's important to honor what went before.
I'm thinking it's going to be so nice when it does open up, because when I visit Queens Hospital, there's this sense of being when you walk into the Queens facility in Honolulu. You feel very comfortable. You feel like you're at home. So I'm thinking that when the second Queens extension comes out, I mean, you're gonna. I'm already hearing from you.
Yes,
you're gonna have that same sense of walking into the hospital and like.
It's interesting. Gerard calls it Queensy.
Queensy.
They'll have a Queensy feel, and our goal is when you immediately walk through the front door, it will have the same look and feel as the main campus that you described.
Yeah, because I remember one of the first times I went to Queens Honolulu, the flooring,
same floor,
and I was like,
yes,
wow, and that's what really, that presence, just, I was like, wow, it didn't feel so clinical with, just linoleum or something, and I was like, and that's why I'm saying that nice presence that spirit, I guess, and I don't want to say that spirit of aloha, but that's what you feel walking into Queens and Honolulu.
It's part of a healing environment.
Yes.
I think what it looks like, what it feels like when you enter, relieves anxiety right away, makes you feel you're going to be well cared for.
So that's why I'm hearing this. I'm kind of looking forward to it, really, not only for the the emergency services, if somebody has an accident on that side currently, if you live in Ever, if you live in Kaena, it's going to be like 40 minutes to get to the nearest place, and losing, the helicopter services. So, it's a blessing to have, even when you're out, to have another emergency services, or to provide a medical facility for people to, I can go to the doctor quicker and then get back home for services instead of having to take a whole day off and go into Honolulu. I think this is something that's really going to be a quality of life issue for the people on the Leeward Coast. And then what you can provide, not only as, the employment, the longevity, that's also for employees.
We're going to be hiring over 400 FTE, full-time equivalents, to man and woman that hospital. So it will be a great employment factor for that community.
I don't know much about Queens, but do you have another facility on the island of Oahu, or is it just the Punch Bowl facility?
Just Punch Bowl. Yeah, the main campus.
Main campus. We have other clinics in surrounding areas, including Kapolei, but this will be our third, because Molokai General.
Oh, yeah. So even though you have a campus in Kapolei, that will still remain there, even though
we might change locations as a clinic, but the only inpatient facility that we have on the west side will be what we open next March.
Wow. This is exciting. I'm really excited about it.
Could I also speak to the quality we hope to bring there, the quality in patient care? We wanted, from the physician medical staff side, we're really planning on having one medical staff between the two campuses, with as many physicians as possible being able to go to the west side, especially to deliver some of the specialty care. So we're working on that, and for the inpatient side, we plan to have our own hospice. So we're going to build that so it's the same group, same kind of quality, same continuity, and they can communicate between the two sites or the two campuses more smooth.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
Yeah, and also in the same way for the emergency room physicians as well. Going to be the same group, so if they have to talk, if they have to transfer, it'll be within the group. And of course the quality or the standards that they uphold, it will be common or uniform, no different kind. Yeah, it's going to be the same.
I like that's a great thought process, because me as a patient, I might be very dedicated to my doctor or my facility at in Honolulu, and then I might be, I don't know if I want to go to the west because it's going to be different people. But I like that thought where the doctors will interchange and the specialists will go back and forth, and that way your client, the patients, the clients, would be comfortable going to the campus or the Honolulu one. I think that's really good. That's smart. That's really smart.
And that's the intent. And good. It's nice the way you put it, so that the people are comfortable going to either side, because that's what we really want.
Yeah.
It's the same electronic medical record that we'll bring over. Yeah. And it's only modified to the degree that if it's a service we don't offer at West, it won't pop up as the service available at West. It'll have to be at another campus. So the records will be can be seen electronically at the downtown facility. Also in the ICU, we're setting up a telepresence. So if a consult is needed, our intensivist on the Punch Bowl campus will be able to have a consult with a physician on the ground at West on a particular patient and a means of care, a protocol of care.
Wow, wow, you're really jumping into the near future.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's more, much more, because for the patients who really should be at Punch Bowl or downtown, for the higher level, the specialty, then we'll be able to do that, because we cannot duplicate Queens there. You know, the amount of specialization and the equipment and such. We really want to do such an excellent job. But so if somebody has to be here, and it might be an acute MI or acute heart attack, an acute stroke, where there are things we can do here in town at the main campus. Very specialized, very excellent, and highly technical. We will be bringing the patients on this side, so we know that we're giving our best. Hopefully they will know that they're getting the best that we can possibly provide.
Yeah, there's been a lot of thought put into this, because even though it's one organization, you wouldn't want to say, well, I prefer to go to the Honolulu versus the West. And when you're going to keep those same services and the same providers running through the system, and if you have a patient out at the West, but the specialist is in Honolulu because there was some emergency out there, I like that, because when we visited Molokai, they had that.
Yes.
Where they could telecommunicate with the specialist quickly, and then make the decision to say, hey, if we transport, if they can stay there. That's a great idea. Even on Oahu, saves cost in transporting the patient to Honolulu that might not need to be transported to Honolulu, when you could just do this telecommunication between the specialist and the doctor out there. That's, wow. Well, you guys are putting a lot of thought into this.
A lot of planning. There are almost every vice president of an area of finance, strategic planning, physician support, nurses, clinicians of all type, operational leaders have been involved in the planning and scenario building, and have really, you're exactly right, put a lot of thought and expertise into exactly what it takes to bring up a hospital and really get the most from it in terms of what we can offer at the main campus to support what we're going to provide at the West Oahu campus.
Because it's when you start looking at our islands, it is very difficult for another institution to come here because, I mean, and you hate to talk about medical and profit, but in order to create a successful hospital,
yes,
you have to talk about that end of it, and we can clearly see what has happened with St. Francis West, HHC. I mean, that's kind of the other end of the picture that had happened with that property out there. And you know, I was so happy to hear when Queens was talking about this quietly, and then it started moving forward, and everybody was getting a little excited about it, because not only a local, you know, long-term, you know, company with great success, and that's telling the community that we plan to be there a while.
Yes.
It's not going to fail or close again. And then now what you're hearing is it's something where another outside firm wouldn't come in and do it, really. And we're already stretched at our busting at the seams with our hospital system that we have on Oahu, and people really don't think about that. And how do you come in taking on that challenge? Because it doesn't come very free, you know.
No,
it is, yes.
And to your point, that's what works with having the main campus is there's some things we don't have to duplicate. Yeah. Billing, coding, credentialing, kind of the back of the house.
Yes.
It will be done on the main campus. So there's a whole lot of infrastructure that doesn't need to happen because we're part of a system.
Yeah.
And that helps.
Yeah, so and that also helps the success going forward. And I think some of the other things that you're doing versus what, you know, the previous owners had tried to do will probably create more of a success. And I didn't realize we had so much extra space on the property to where you could move into maybe other avenues of medical service too, which, you know, I hope you guys do that too.
Yes.
We probably won't talk about that right now, but you know, I guess the main focus is what the community really was always the emergency, you know, and then to hear that we can have other medical services provided on that side is, you know, even a greater asset to that growing community. Because
yes, not only to the families that live out there, but also the employers. Time away from work, lost productivity. So we really want to be a valuable community partner.
And not only bringing in, you know, the 400 plus jobs.
Yes.
Those are high quality jobs, you know, very long range jobs. Then you actually become a stimulus for the community again. So those people have to have lunch, those people have to have dinner, those people need services to support the hospital. So you kind of actually bring a new economic engine back to that particular area, which is also helpful in a different way. Yeah? So I kind of like this seesaw effect. I think it's pretty good. Yeah, I'm glad you finally kind of, I think, cinched the deal, and now we can start really talking about it and saying it's coming soon.
Hold on, we actually put a temporary sign on the entrance off of Fort Weaver Road that said coming spring 2014.
Wow,
yeah,
that's cool. So when you guys are talking about what might be community driven, are you going to go out and maybe, you know, outside of surveys, go out to communities and say, here, we'd like to just have an open dialogue? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I mean, is that something?
Actually, we've already started doing that. We've been meeting regularly with the physicians that live and work on that campus, because we wanted them to know first, because they have a vested interest in what's happening right there on campus. We are planning to have physician town hall meetings because they really want to know, how can I be involved and be available to answer questions, and Gerard and several other physicians are leading that effort.
Wow.
Art Usijima, our CEO and president of the system, and I are going out to the West Oahu Economic Group next week to talk about what's happening. And so we're hoping that as it gets closer and down the road, more and more folks will invite us out to talk story about West Oahu.
Yeah, we've talked, and we want to really engage, and we want to be, again, good partners. And so, you know, why not co-sign? And looking at community groups too, we want to touch bases with them as well.
Yeah, because I think people are kind of hungry for the information. And, you know, and it's not to put the misinformation, squash all that, but I think people just kind of like, wow, what's going on? You get excited about when this is going to happen, you know, because like I said, a year from now, that's like tomorrow. I mean, it's right around the corner.
Yes, it really
It'll be
is.
right around the corner, and you know, I mean, I really appreciate what Queens is going to do. I mean, that's a piece of property and a facility that, you know, is dearly needed, and especially with the growth potential on that west side. And I appreciate what Queens is going to be doing. I truly do. You'll probably save lives.
Thank you.
Which is really
Yes.
very,
Our
very
whole-
important. Important, yes.
Yes, you know, saving lives for us, we're driven by the mantra, you know, patients first. You know, we are driven by safety, patient safety and quality and all of these things. So, you know, what we have in town, we will have out there as far as these drivers, and if for the super specialty services, again, that we cannot provide out there, go and get them
In town.
in town. Yeah.
I thank you for joining me. I truly do. So, and thank you for coming to our communities.
Thank
Our
you for having
pleasure.
us.
Thank you.
So, I'd like to say aloha for now, from Jordan's Journal. Aloha.